Welcome viewers to the special DPI program where we continue to examine Budget 2019 as presented in the National Assembly on November 26. I am joined by National Member of Parliament for Region 6, Mr. Charrandas, Persaud. Welcome to the program.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Now, my first question to you. The budget was presented by Minister Jordan on November 26. What are some of your general thoughts?
Well, for one, I would say maybe I can confine this to Region 6 in relation to the $300.7 billion that have been assigned to the national budget, or as the national budget. But for Region 6, we are receiving, or we have been allocated at least a little over $7 billion for development and projects in Region 6. And I think that's a lot of money. It's a lot of money, because when we look at what has been done in 2018, now that we're coming to the end of 2018, we have not spent $7 billion, but a lot has been done. So imagine now that we have $7 billion for 2019, a lot more will be done for Region 6. I don't know if you would like me to tell you of some of the things that have been done in Region 6 for 2018, but among those in particular would be roads. The East Bank Berbice Road, which is a stretch of road going in from Amsterdam for about 25, 30 miles or so up to the end of the road, which is Mara. For years, many, many years, that has been slated for development. They did what I would call patchwork. But this year, 2018, the road has been going through what I would describe as major rehabilitation. And when I say major, they have widened the road, they're building it so solid. Residents in East Bank of Berbice, really some of them can't live out that road. It is not yet completed, but it is still, work is being done on it, and a lot of it has been done. There's also Amsterdam. And when I described it in my budget speech as glass top road as described by a friend, it doesn't necessarily mean the road has glass on the top of it. You can't be that practical. I'm simply describing the smoothness of the road after it was rebuilt, resurfaced, both the main road and the Baghdad road, and quite a few of the streets in Amsterdam and Stanley Town. In addition to that, street lights have been placed in Stanley Town and going on towards the East Bank some. But that East Bank Road is making life so simple and easy for people, particularly farmers. Beyond a place called Highbury, going on to Platanka and Mara up on the East Bank, it's strictly farming. And the farmers have to bring their produce to the market in Amsterdam. Those are things that are going to be much easier for the hard-working farmers now. And since we're on roads, I must say this, the 19 stretch, as we call it, it's the longest straight road in the Caribbean. And I said this in my budget speech. 7.5 miles of straight road, the darkest part of Berbice, because not too many houses are there, but that entire stretch has been lit up with not just regular lights, LED street lights. You can see flies on the road even at night. That's how bright it is. And again, these are things that you have to appreciate. Cost money. Monies were spent to have these things done for the benefit of the people. Nothing to do with who is party A or party B, as the case might be. It is the general population that's benefiting from these projects.
Okay, now you've mentioned a lot in terms of infrastructure. What about two other major sectors, health, public health, as well as education? How has the region been doing in relation to those sectors?
That is so easy. Contrary to what was said by my good friend in Parliament, Dr. Mahadio, the Amsterdam Hospital never had a maternity unit per se. They had a ward that was described as a maternity ward, but it was very often inadequate. Patients have been sleeping, more than one on a bed. You go to deliver a baby. A brand new unit is about 80% complete to house the maternity cases, strictly called the maternity ward. They have also looked to upgrade the hospital in the sense of the mortuary. It was so, I don't know, you can't say improper. It was a stupid thing to have the mortuary next to the kitchen. And that has been removed and will be completed again with the maternity ward early this 2019. But that for the health facility. Then you had health centers, one at Platanka, which is about, I'd say, 12 to 13 miles from New Amsterdam, almost remote. People had to travel from inside there to come to New Amsterdam to see a doctor for anything, or to have babies, you go for your regular checkup. That health center was built, but it was not properly done, and so it was not open. But for 2.5 years or so, it's been sitting there. It has since, in November, just this last November, keys were handed over to the health authority for that one, and one at number 76 on the quarantine. Brand new health centers. Again, these can only benefit the people who live in these areas. Monies were spent. The people are going to benefit from this. You also have in the health facility the Port Morant Hospital. They've done some remedial work there. They renovated the kitchen at the New Amsterdam Hospital because, of course, that's where the food has to come for patients, nurses, and some of the people who are permanently working there. So when you look at the health sector, a lot has been done to improve the health sector in Amsterdam. The mental asylum, which you know is a psychiatric hospital in Amsterdam, that has been, a lot of areas have been renovated. The yard is now kept clean. There's a brand new road built to take you in and out of there when it was like potholes or more than potholes, big holes on that road. So for the hospital, and you asked me about the health center and the education sector. There are schools that have been renovated, several schools. Roads have been built into quite a few of these schools that had very poor access. We are looking to, they rebuilt a couple of the nursery schools. And then also in Blackbush, there was work done on another school inside there. So as it goes, you see, I must say this, and I'm hoping that the people can understand, even if you're given $20 billion, it may not be you have enough money to do the work, but it may be that you cannot complete all the work that this 20 billion can fund within a specified time. We've been in government for 3.5 years. What do you expect to have done in 3 years? We cannot magically transform the country. But bit by bit, we are picking areas that are in dire need, as I would say, and not because of the political affiliation, which I am saying this boldly was the case with the previous government. A place called Liverpool, one of the biggest playgrounds in Berbice, is at Liverpool. I went there to do a flag raising ceremony 2 years ago, and I couldn't drive my car inside because of the road. Subsequent to that, and people in Liverpool, you will know, people around you will know, this is the truth. I went with Mrs. Amna Ali, Simona Brooms, Nicolette Henry, and Karen Cummings, all ministers. And that road, with the okay from Mr. Patterson, that road is now again, I like to describe it as glass top, as my friend did. It is so smooth. It is so smooth, built all the way from Public Road to the inside. Work was done to the health center, the community center there. And Minister Henry promised to assist them with the ground. Monies have been put inside to have that ground fixed up. Recently, the Esplanade, which is a ground that was commissioned by the Rotary Club of New Amsterdam, handed to the town council. That has been renovated. It's a wonderful playground. They've built all kinds of sheds and chairs put around that ground now. You can see there's a lovely park where people can go and relax. So you have schools, roads to schools, and the health sector and the education sector. There's a lot more to be done. And I'm making representation to have some work done. East Kanji Secondary School needs some other things done. My own old high school, this is now looking into 2019, BI, the Berbice Education Institute, will be extended because more and more students are going to school there. I don't know that people will find anything tangible, anything valid to condemn this government for when it comes to the health sector, the education sector in Region 6. And I'm saying Region 6 because I am properly acquainted with what is happening in Region 6. Work will be done now at Oriala and Separuta, two of the Amerindian villages up on the Corentyne River in Region 6. And they will go and get things done in Oriala, in Baracara up on the Kanji Creek. They go to the Corentyne River, the Kanji Creek, to have things done. They're probably looking to set up lights for the people inside there. So a lot has been done, a lot is slated to be done. 2019 budget at $7 point something billion. We'll see a lot more done. And again, you cannot expect it to magically happen in just a day or in a week or in the 2 or 3 years that we have been in office. Time will take care of all of that. But I think I can safely say to the people of Berbice regions 5 and 6, a lot has been done. Much more than you can say was done during the time for 23 years that the PPP were in office. For the benefit of everybody. And again, I'm not talking partisan politics. This government cannot be a government for APNU or AFC people only. It has to be a government for the people of Guyana. And when you do things, it must be not just for a group of people, for the entire country.
Well, thank you so much for that information. Now, moving on to a very important topic, and it's something that was raised by the opposition in the National Assembly during the debate, sugar workers. How have those workers who received their severance payments been able to transition? What about those? Are there any sugar workers working at the estates there?
Well, let me say this very quickly. The closure of the Rosal Kanji sugar estate, I live in Kanji, born and bred inside there, did not go down well. But I will also say this, and again, people, you who are listening, if you know anything about East Kanji, those of you in East Kanji, you will know. You were given severance pay in East Kanji within a couple of weeks after the estate was closed. Half of the money was paid. That money would have lasted, or should have lasted, in excess of 6 months to all these workers. It is more money than the workers would have made if they were working for the whole year. And I'll tell you why I'm saying this. My friends out there, many of you know me. You know that what I'm saying is the truth. You can't deny this. When sugar workers are working, when we have the outer crop, sometimes it runs for 3-4 months. They're not making a cent, or they may get a day or two weeding canals. So the money that you will have made for the working days, the months that you were working, had to be spread over those few months when you're not really working. You still have the same kind of expense to go through. And so with the severance pay, you will have used that to tidy you through until you got the other half, which was paid last Friday. Just last Friday. What date would that have been? Tomorrow is the 7th. So it would have been the 1st. No, the 31st. November. 30th of November. Yeah, November has 30 days. You got to remember that. But again, let us look at those who receive their severance pay. It is true you're out of a job, but you have all this money with you now. And I must say, I know of a few people who went out to spend this money in a manner that I will say, man, you're smart. Because it provided for them to buy a car, run on the road. Even though a lot of cars are on the road, you are running this car to make money as a hire car, taxi service, trips to the airport. It helps because the money will be used up and done. Some did that. I know 2 of them who have gone into business of their own, little shops. Not big as yet, but it could get big. But at least these are people who have a steady head, looking to see how I must use this money. And I would describe it as a very smart, very shrewd way of spending the severance pay. You invest it into something that you can get returns from. There are others who may have seen it best to buy things for their children that may last them out throughout their school year, or for the family. Again, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. You're looking at that. But what happens when that is done? At that stage, you can complain. But then the other half of the severance was paid last Friday, the 30th of November. They have money, again, that will give them a decent Christmas. Coming into January, February, March, money might be done. But I'll say this, and again, I hate lies. People might think because I'm a lawyer, I tell lies. I don't tell lies. I might tell my client to lie. But Zulfikar Mustafa, who was regional chairman for Berbice Region 6 for many, many years. I don't know what he did for Region 6, but I'll tell you what he did in Parliament yesterday. He said that none of the sugar workers who was laid off, none is working again. And that is a lie. They come out now by the truckloads. They still have to cut the cane that is being grown, even though it's being processed at Albion Estate. They have to cut the cane. So a lot of these men, here's the nice thing on all of that. They were taken off the job, the factories closed. They were given severance pay. Now, they got the job back again to cut cane. Many of them, Zulfikar, many. He said none. But they were not shortchanged on their severance pay. They received a full severance package at the end of November. So these are people who ought to be very, very happy. Now, I have to admit, not all of them have been back in the workforce, but they have found other things to do. They're looking at other things. Again, the closure of the estate was a blow, but it was cushioned nicely for these Kanji people because they got their severance pay up front, and then some of them were called back to work at the estate. They got the other half of the severance pay. I don't know how this government can be blamed, because bear in mind, to have to keep that estate running, you're looking to plow about $5-6 billion into the estate alone. What do we have for, we said that just now with the budget 2019, an allocation of $7 billion and change for the whole of Region 6, for all the sectors, not just sugar workers alone. Whereas if you had to plow money to keep the estate going, the sugar workers would have been the only ones benefiting from that $6 billion input into the sugar estate. So I don't think it was fair. I don't think that it would have been correct to keep the estate going, especially because sugar was not making money.
Thank you very much. Now, you mentioned a lot of plans for 2019 with the allocation to Region 6. Could you highlight maybe 2 or 3 of those projects?
I mentioned it briefly. I think the East Bank Road will be completed. And again, I will call it the Glass Top Road after it's done. Farmers will have easy access to the Amsterdam and markets. A lot of rice fields on that East Bank have been left abandoned because of the difficulty to get in and out there. I can imagine that is going to fly up again. And yes, there is a price for rice. Rice price is not $300, as some of them will tell you. The biggest rice producer, rice miller in Guyana, for that matter, not just Berbice, is the Persaud family. They process Caribbean rice and all these things. They are paying in excess now of 27, I think 28, almost $3,000 a bag. It is a fair price. You can make money on that. And I sat at the rice board as a chairman for in excess of 2 years. With the complaints that come, you know that they're making money. You, of course, will be hit with blast, sometimes flood might bother the rice field, but they're making money. In addition to that, a few other schools will be completed. I did mention my old school, BI. They're doing some work to keep Berbice High School looking good. They did some work on the ground. They're fixing up some playgrounds also to keep children occupied. In addition to all of that, they're looking to set up electricity for the riverine and the remote areas. So that by itself will be a big project. Minister Patterson, who is in charge of GPL and the water sector, he's looking to have that done for the people in Region 6. There's a lot planned. I mean, again, I'm hoping that the people can assist. You need help, As central government, you need help from the local, which will be the local government people. But sometimes, and let me say this, I'm not picking a fight with anybody. But very often, in the first year that we were in office, Region 6 had an excess of $16 million that were returned to the Consolidated Fund. Ask David Armogan, who's the chairman of Region 6, why could you not have used $16 million to do this road, that street, build that bridge, instead of sending it back to the Consolidated Fund? When they do that, the PPP arm, they will do these things deliberately and tell the people, look, government didn't do this. Look, government didn't do that. Government is responsible for the main streets, the main roads. The local authorities for the smaller streets and the lights in the smaller villages. So when they do it, the people don't understand the difference. They think the government is not doing that. We should not be doing that. We need to work all of us, whether opposition and government, to make the people comfortable. You can't claim you're representing the people and you deliberately set things up so that they can be uncomfortable. What good are you as a representative of the people, whether government or opposition? I think it's unfair. I don't think we should be doing that. But the normal person would hardly see it that way. But development is going to happen as it has been. More will continue to happen. Angois Avenue, people in Angois Avenue, you can start rejoicing from now. That entire road, Angois Avenue is a squatting area. They now have lights, they have water. They're going to have a few of these streets done, and the main road will be completely refurbished or renovated.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Persaud. Any final thoughts before we close out the program on Budget 2019?
Well, Budget 2019 is still an issue, but at the end of the day, no matter how they may say, what they may say about what we are doing with the budget, it will be passed, and we will continue to work for the benefit of the people. This government is not a partisan government. And all around you will see that. People who have been employed, contrary to popular belief, they have not been laid off because they're PPP people. There are genuine reasons why some have been laid off. Can't get away from that. Some have been replaced by other people in the same area. But this budget is the largest budget that was ever presented in this House, in Parliament that is. And it can only benefit the people of this country, across the country.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you so much, viewers, for joining us.